Good afternoon, Christine.
Hi, how are you?
Good. I just had someone from England who wanted to log in, but I advised him just to watch the live feed. Good afternoon, Deborah. Hannah Farler is uh, in the waiting room. Do you need to talk to her, Christine? No, that's Tim George.
You about gave me a small heart attack. I'm like, I don't have that on my calendar. How did I miss that? Because I have represented Hannah before.
Yes, I didn't want to give you a small heart attack, a big one. Well, we've got just about everyone we need. We don't have Christine's client, William Saylor, and we don't have Hannah's attorney, Tim George. We have two probation violation hearings scheduled for this afternoon. Daniel Frazine is a probation officer in each of these matters. Hannah Farler is in the waiting room, and let's see if somebody. One's in the conference room. I left that open in case somebody came. As I indicated, Mr. Saylor logged in yesterday, and I advised him to come back today. And I should have told him to call his probation officer, but I was in the middle of doing some other stuff. I have four zoning hearings, actually about 10, but 4 separate defendants starting at 1:30, so I'd like to get right to this. Hannah, just to let you know, I haven't forgotten you. We're still waiting for your attorney to log in. And
Okay.
As soon as he does, we can start. Here he is now.
I was wondering.
There he is in his office. Good afternoon, Mr. George.
Hey, Judge, how you doing?
Good. Everyone is here. Hannah is here, and
Okay.
Deborah, Daniel. I'll go ahead and call the case. This is file 202431FY. It's entitled People versus Hannah Beth Farler. Ms. Farler was originally charged with some very serious things that were reduced to 1 count of impaired driving, and she was put on probation last December 7th. Daniel Frazine was assigned to supervise it, and he's been very frustrated, essentially feeling that we've accomplished nothing or less than nothing with this probation. He filed a probation violation petition in April, alleging that Hannah failed to report on a monthly basis, failed to pay anything towards fines, costs, or oversight fees, failed to abstain from the use of alcohol and drugs, failed to participate in treatment as directed by the probation department. We had the arraignment on June 9th, and she pled not guilty. Her original attorney, Mr. Tim George, was appointed to represent her. The matter was set for a probation violation hearing here today. Mr. George, what does your client wish to do?
Your Honor, we had the opportunity to speak on Monday. If we could, I'd like to, if I could, go into a breakout room with her briefly just to confirm what you'd like to do.
All right, Hannah, I'll let you talk to your attorney.
Okay, thank you.
Daniel, your fears and suspicions may prove correct. No sign of Mr. Saylor.
Yeah, well, he didn't test again as you ordered him, so I didn't think he'd show up, but I was surprised when he said he logged in yesterday.
Very tricky. Log in the day before.
Or perhaps he may have been slightly under the influence and just forgot what day it was.
I
The
don't know.
world may never know.
Whether he logs in, but he certainly knows about it. He was quoting from the thing, and I said, yeah, it says June 23rd. That's tomorrow. He's like, oh, okay. All right.
His PO is just out to get him, though, so he's probably switching dates on him.
Well, it had the correct date on it. He just misconstrued. All day Monday, or all day yesterday, I wrote 6/21. I had to go back and change the date on everything. Summer's going by too fast. We've passed the equinox already, and now we're on the downhill slide. And so I want to hold on to June before we segue into July.
Well, it definitely doesn't slow down the older you get, that's for sure. Time seems to pick up.
Yeah, wait till you're my age. 101. Well, I would rather they did this on their time rather than our time, but hope for the best.
Autumn just called. Marty Bacon is trying to log in, but he's having Zoom issues, so he's gonna call
Who's Marty Bacon?
somebody after this afternoon,
I do?
maybe? No?
No, he might be in Judge P's court.
Okay, she was thinking it was you.
I don't have him on my docket
Okay,
unless you tell me something I need to know.
okay, I'll go look.
I gotta make a quick phone. My guy's trying to get into DV and can't get in.
All right, go ahead for a moment. All right, Daniel is going to step out for just a moment, but Hannah is back and Tim is back on this probation violation matter. What do you wish to do, Mr. George?
Your Honor, I think that, and I haven't had the opportunity to talk to the prosecutor, obviously, Mr. Frazine, about this, but I think my client would acknowledge a couple of the violations in there, and we would move to sentencing.
All right,
You would acknowledge missing testing and not calling in May, and also not signing a release for services through CMH.
Hannah, do you understand that you're charged with a probation violation? You have rights. You have the right to a lawyer and you have the right to a hearing, but they're a little diminished from what you have before you're convicted. When you're before you're convicted, you're presumed to be innocent if and until the state was able to prove your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. Now you have entered a guilty plea and been placed on a probation. And so they have to prove beyond a preponderance that you violated your probation and you're not entitled to have a jury trial. Are you willing to acknowledge that you violated your probation by failing to test, failing to sign your release, and failing to pay? Are you willing to admit those things?
Yes, But on the paying, I missed like 8 weeks of work and I don't have money. I mean,
Okay,
I'm
well,
working now, but I didn't have.
That's the least concern. We try not to punish people for not having money, although the court says we can't incarcerate people. It's difficult to place them on probation. We can order fines and costs. In fact, we're ordered to pay some fines and costs. But then we have to tread lightly when we try to collect those, so people won't have any money. But at any rate, that's the least of it. But you have not done the other things that he asked you to do. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. Have you done any treatment?
I have, and I just sent the release out in the mail yesterday.
Daniel's very frustrated. I'm going to read from his status report. Defendant has continued to display criminal thinking. She's continued to play games, has displayed no intention of paying off fines and costs, or testing regularly, or engaging in treatment, or anything other than to do what she's always done. She's not engaged in any treatment for over 4 months, has been terminated from services for lack of participation. Probation officer very strongly recommends, for the sake of the infant, as well as to hopefully motivate the defendant to get some help, she be given the remaining 60 deferred jail days and revocation of her probation. She does not deserve any credit for any effort, as she has put 0 effort into this probation. She was sentenced to 92 days in jail, which is what she would have gotten if she'd not been placed on a term of probation. This was a terrible offense. She was pregnant, drunk, stole a car, told this officer she was not sorry that the car was wrecked, tried to hit someone, and even got in a fight at the jail after she was booked in. This is why the officer did not recommend a term of probation at the original sentencing. Further, she had 4 previous probation revocations and did not show any remorse for her actions. Probation officer was pretty certain that the term of probation would go exactly how it's gone. Despite all this facts, the officer has done everything humanly possible to get the defendant to engage in treatment, which might help break the downward cycle that she is in. For all that effort, defendant has lied, been hostile, and continued to do what she wants. Again, with all the technical and non-technical violations, considering the original facts of this case, original sentence of 60 days is more than justified. He also tried to call you at work.
I wasn't working that day.
I'm not sure what happened. Whoever it was there hung up on you. I'm not sure whether you're still working there or not. We haven't been able to verify.
I'm scheduled to work for the next 3 days from 10:30 to 4.
Having said all that, Tim and Deborah, because of her history of failing probations, Daniel was reluctant to put her on probation in the first place. That was on me. I've known Hannah since she was 17 and started getting into the process. This was a very bad case, and she's done a very poor job on probation. She has an infant child. She may or may not be working at Kentucky Fried Chicken. We can't tell. She's never signed a release. She got kicked out of treatment. Daniel's throwing his hands up. Tim, what's your thought?
Well, in speaking with my client, she reports to me that she does maintain employment, KFC in Sturgis. Obviously, as the court's well aware, she does have an infant child that's 2 months old. The biological father of the child is not in the picture, so the infant child's care rests solely on her. She does have daycare that assists with the child while she is at work. But I mean, if the recommendation is followed in this case, essentially, I understand Mr. Frazine's frustration with the case, but I'm not sure what the benefit is to the minor child. It sounds like a removal petition to me. So, I understand the court's frustration. I understand the probation department's frustration. But, my client does report, as I'm sure how this will sound to the court, but she wants to continue on the probation. She wants to get some type of benefit out of it. She indicates that she just did sign a release. If the court's not looking to do anything like that and just have some type of sentence to end the case, I don't think that 62 days is appropriate. I would ask for something that's, more in line with some type of weekend arrangement so that she can continue to work, not lose her job, and support her minor child. So obviously, I know Hannah's going to have a lot to say to the court as it relates to this, so I leave that to her, but that's just my thought on this, Your Honor. Thank you.
Deborah, you have any insight here?
Your Honor, did you read the entire police report or just the bond information report?
Originally, at the time of the sentence, I read the whole report.
Okay. There's a lot to this case, and she was given an extremely generous offer by the prior prosecutor with what occurred. Extremely dangerous driving, fleeing and eluding, running stop signs in rural areas, 16 weeks pregnant, drinking liquor. It's a very bad situation. And the fact that she hasn't taken this probation seriously is really disappointing. And I understand that she wants to continue the probation, but probation isn't just a get out of jail free card. It's your opportunity to show that you want to change what you're doing. I recognize that she had some extremely traumatic things happen to her previously and shortly before this, with the loss of a child. I think she needs some significant help, and I don't want to see her just wasting away in the St. Joseph County Jail. This infant child needs her. I'm not sure if the father is Mr. Singleton, and that's who's not in the picture. I guess it really doesn't necessarily matter, but I'm at a loss. I think that there should be some sort of a sanction with a jail component to make it clear that this is an option if she doesn't participate with the probation. But I also don't want to lose the chance to rehabilitate her, if it's possible, through this probation and get her on the right track so that this criminality doesn't continue. So with that, I guess it's the court's decision what to do with her for the sentencing. Thank you.
All right, before we hear from you, Daniel, I want to read something else. Probation officer called the Sturgis KFC and asked for the defendant. The person who answered the phone asked who it was, and they said they would go get her. The officer could hear someone walking toward the phone. It sounded like the defendant. The voice got closer and closer, then the phone was picked up and then hung up. Probation officer wanted to inquire if she wanted a release if she'd signed a release for CMH yet, wanted to have her call me. Peel called work for two reasons. First, he was thinking that didn't know whether she was still working there. Secondly, she's not been able to reach her by phone, nor has she returned any of the phone messages. So you've been ducking your probation officer. He's been trying to get a hold of you since June.
I don't get voicemails.
Oh, well then why put you on probation if we can't ever get a hold of you to find out what's going on? You don't answer his calls. He can't call you at work. He can't call you at all.
I do answer his calls, and I have my call log to prove that. He doesn't call very often, and
all right, well,
he called the work phone before he even called my phone, and I wasn't at work that day.
Right. Daniel, what's your thought?
I think she pretty much summed it up for me right now, Your Honor. She is argumentative. She's difficult. I don't see her wanting to change, and I think it's a waste of our resources at this point.
All right, Hannah, you get the last word.
Absolutely, I'm argumentative because I had a meth addiction for like 2 years, and I'm almost 10 months clean right now. I'm doing very well and I still have my job. And this difference between this probation and any other probation, every other probation, I haven't worked. The only reason I worked the last one was because I was at the probation center and had to. I did this all on my own. I got my job on my own. I love my job. I'm staying clean. I'm doing better than I've ever done in years. I take care of my daughter.
All right. So
We reach our milestones.
again, Daniel says you're doing your own thing. You're not doing anything I wanted you to do. There's an pink elephant in the room of the fact that you tested positive for alcohol. You didn't admit to that and you denied it, but there's enough other ammunition in here. You've got this infant child. Your probation officer can't get a hold of you. They don't agree with what he wants you to do. I don't know whether you're doing any counseling or not, because since December, you've yet to sign a release after multiple efforts from your probation officer to get you to sign the release. Secondly, I don't really know whether you're working or not. The only reason you're not in jail right now is because you were pregnant when this sentence went down, and you richly deserved a 92-day jail sentence for the terrible conduct that you did, not to mention all the baggage on your criminal record. But you were pregnant, and I was trying to keep you clean and sober during your pregnancy. We fought that battle previously. Now you've got an infant child, which is a collateral issue in this case. To remove you from your infant child for 30, 60, or 90 days is detrimental to the development of the child. I'm going to put you in a breakout room with your attorney, and you're going to tell him your work number. And then, Tim, you're going to email it to me. And Daniel.
I just Googled it.
All right, why don't you call it right now, Daniel, and confirm to see if she's still working there.
Okay, I'll do that.
I had 5 of those, I think.
Hannah, I'm going to mute your phone for a minute.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Hello.
Can you hear me now? I can't hear anybody.
I just sent
Hello?
that.
Oh, I can hear Tim. I'm going to shut it off and try to start it again.
And
Oh, I can hear you, Deb.
so,
I just can't hear Judge Middleton.
Yeah.
It sounds
Yeah, I
like
can't hear.
courtroom's
Oh,
muted.
good. It's not just me.
no, he's not.
Hold up a sign.
I know. I don't have a sign. I need a sign.
Your English and Spanish turn audio on?
Something, yeah. I'm glad he found that Spanish one the other day. It was helpful.
Well, I think you can hear us. She is working there. She works about 20, 25 hours a week.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah.